Welcome everyone to Selenium Training by Wisdom Trainings. And today guys, we will be covering the topic of decision making statements in Python. If you have any doubts regarding the course or the video, you may go over the website in the free videos section and drop your questions over here in the Speak Your Mind section. Okay, now let's just start with the topic today. I'll go to my Eclipse over here. So now over here I'm in my Eclipse. I will just directly will make a module by a new package by the name module 3, and in this module first topic that we are going to cover in this video today is about the decision making, and the decision making statement that is available in Python is the if else condition. Okay, so I'll name it like if else demo. Okay, in this module, we will be only discussing the if-else module. In the next module, we'll be discussing the next topics. Okay, let's start with the first topic today. When we talk about if-else condition, that is meant by, if you're aware of another programming languages, if-else means that the condition will be evaluated. If the condition is true, then some statement will be executed. If the condition is false, then some execution will be happening. Right, so over Python also the same thing is there. The same conditions will be applied. Okay, so let's just take a look how it's going to be. Let's take a situation, a normal variable I'm taking. Okay, let it be a is equals to 10, a simple variable I have declared. Okay, now I want to compare whether this 10 is greater than 0 or not. Okay, that is simply I want to do. So I'll say if, this is the syntax of if condition in Python. If in curly bracket, you need to give this statement. Now if my a is greater than 0, then you need to have this semicolon at any of the condition you are using. If even if it is decision making or it's a loop, you need to have it. And in the starting videos we have discussed about the indentation. So as soon as I'll press enter, it will take an automatic indent of this much space. Now it will not give you any error because this space is being provided by the interpreter itself. Okay, so now you just need to action what you want to do in this if condition. I'll simply will say in the print statement that a is greater than 0. That is what I wanted to evaluate, right? So I'll save it. I'll save it and I'll run it. Python run. Okay. So my a was greater than 0. That's why it's giving me a statement that print a is greater than 0. But what if this is not my condition? My condition is opposite to it. I'm checking whether my a is less than 0 or not. Right now my variable value is the same. A is less than 0. I'm just comparing. So I'll run it. So you can see now there is no statement. So this is the if condition if I just only want to check whether it's true or not. But if I want to evaluate whether it's true or false, so I need to have some else block as well. So I'll correct it, or I'll use the else block. I'll say else print is greater than 0. Okay. Now this condition will evaluate both my conditions. Firstly, it will be checking whether my a is less than 0 or not. Since our a is not less than 0, it's greater than 0, so it will come into my else block and will give me the output of this print statement. Now if I'll run this, you can see it's giving me a is greater than 0. This was just to check that whether it's true or false. Now there is one more thing that is being provided by Python. You can have elif. If you are aware about the language Java, in that there is an else if situation as well. This elif is like that only. This will evaluate in the multiple ways whether the statement is true or not. So I'll say check whether my a is 0 or not. If it is 0, then execute the elif block. Otherwise the different blocks. In this I'll evaluate if it's 0 or not. A is 0. Okay, I'll save it and I'll run it. Since my value of A is greater than 0, so that's why it's giving me this part. Now if I change the value of my variable, it's saying A is 0. Okay, likewise if I have a value which is less than 0, so it will give me A is less than 0. Okay, so this is how the code is going to be. Either at this checkpoint it's being checked the condition is true or not. Then if it's not true, then it moves further to the next block, that is elif block. Over here in the elif block also a condition has been given, right? It will be evaluated whether it's true or not. If it's true, then it will be executed. If it's not true, then it will go to the else part and will execute the else part. Okay, this is what the else if the decision making statement is in Python. Okay. Now let's just take a look whether the nested if-else condition is supported in Python or not. So for that, let me just take another example, another variable. Let it be b, and my value of b be 1. Okay, now I want to check whether it's greater than 0 or not, the same type of condition that I've previously used, but in a different manner. Firstly, I'll be checking whether the value of b is equal to 0 or not. So I'll simply will say in the if condition, I'll put a condition in if I'll say if my b is not equals to 0, then just check whether my b is okay. If it is not 0, then just check whether my b is greater than or less than 0. So if it is this, so I'll say print b is less than 0, else check if in else I don't want to put any condition. I'll simply will say print b is greater than 0. Okay, so now just to check this output whether this is some automatic import, I'll remove it. I'll comment this. I'll just will check whether my nested if else condition is being supported or not, whether it goes inside this loop or not, to check whether my b is greater than 0 or less than 0. If it is not 0, my b is 1, so let's just take a look at this now. Okay, just wait, equals to 1. I'll save it and I'll run it. Python run. So it says b is greater than 0. That is a fact that my b is 1. What if I have b as minus 1? So I'll save it and I'll rerun it. Now it says b is less than 0. That means the nested if-else condition is also supported in Python. Also, if these two conditions doesn't work out, I can also have an outer loop in which I have another else condition. And I'll say if both these conditions does not match, so what will be the value of my b? B is 0, right? Obviously, if my value of b is not less than 0, it's not greater than 0, then it might be 0, right? So I'll save it and I'll run it. I'll change the value as well. I'll make it 0. And it says b is 0. So that means my nested if-else condition is also supported in Python, and I can work this way as well if I have to check multiple conditions, so I can do this. Okay. This was about the if-else condition, that how you can work with if-else condition, what is the syntax of it, and how it actually works. Okay. Now likewise, decision making conditions, we have some loops as well. Okay. Now when I talk about loops, the loops are the system through which you can iterate over a single thing. Okay, I'll demonstrate it by a use of another module. I'll make another module. Let's say loops demo. Okay, now in this Loops, I have two types of loop. One is the while loop and the second is the for loop. They both loops are different in each type. We'll be discussing both of them one by one. So first we'll be discussing about the while loop. Okay, the syntax if I'll talk about, it's like this, while. And as I told you, if any condition is there, it needs to end with a semicolon. It needs to be ended with the colon. Okay, now what this while does? In this condition, in this while loop, the condition will be evaluated first and then commands will run. Okay, now if I'll say, let's take a variable a or now I have a variable a is equals to 1. Okay, I or I'll make it 10. Okay, this is my variable. I need to iterate it over some value. I'll say if my a is less than 10, variable will be 1. Okay, now I'd want to iterate it till 10 or when till the time when it's not less equal to 10. So what I'll do is I'll say not e- while a is less than 10, iterate it. Just go further. So I'll increase this variable. I'll say a is equals to a plus 1. Now whenever this condition will be evaluated, this while condition, over here my value first will be coming a is equals, here it will be 1 and 1 is less than 10. So when it comes to line number 7, the a value will be increased to 2. Again it will go and the condition will be false. Until the time this condition becomes true, this loop is going to be running. Okay, and just to see how it's going on, I'll simply will print my a after just increment. Okay, I'll say print a. Now if I'll save it and I'll run it, Python run. Okay, now you can see it's giving me the values of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why is it giving so? I told you first the condition will be checked and then the increment will be applied. Okay, now here the value was 1. It checked it that it is true. Then the value got incremented and then my a is printed. If I'll print the value of a before the increment, then the value is going to be like this. I need to have some separator line. So now you can see the first iteration, the first time the condition will be checking, the value will be 1. Then it will print my value and then increment the value of a by 1. That will become 2. Now when my output will be printed, my print over here is there. So here my a will be 2 and the condition will be checked for the a is equals to 2. It's true, it's less than 10. So again it will be printed until the time over here at some point by incrementing, the value of a will become 10. Okay, if I'll show you this 10. This 10 is being printed from here, from this print statement because it's after the iteration. If the again after iteration it goes for the comparison and now it will become a value will be become 10. My 10 is not less than 10. So here my condition becomes false. So that's why my iteration just stopped over here and it did not print the 10 again. Okay, so this is how it went to be. Just for the sake of information that your loop has been entered, it has been terminated, you can use an else statement. You can say else print statement you can use. It's optional, it's not compulsory, it's an optional block. If you don't want to use it, you can skip it. So I'll say the code is terminated. I'll save it and I'll run it. So after the execution over here, the increment over here, the execution of this loop terminated and it went to this else block. Okay, so this is the file loop comes. Before the code can run, the condition will be checked. Okay, now if I talk about the other type of loop, that is my for loop. The for loop is little different in the syntax manner. Over here we are just giving the condition. The for will be having the syntax as for. There will be a counter variable which will be increasing every time the loop will be running. So I'll take it as I, and using this keyword in range. In range means that I'm specifying till from which length till which length I want to execute this loop, right? Over here I was running it till 10. Now I'll say I want it to run from 1 to 10. Okay, by that it will run only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will not execute the 10th part because the for loop is running till minus 1 of the till limit. This is from till, right? So minus 1 will be executed of this 10, that is 9. I'll simply will print my values. I don't have to do anything else in it. I'll say I'll just print the counter variable. Okay, I'll run it. You can see that the code has been running from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It did not execute it 10. As I informed you that the range of the for loop is running till minus 1 of the range you give. Okay. Now over here I know what I'm doing. This is my for loop. I can work with this for loop on my data structures that we'll be covering in the next video, or at many times we can just iterate it like on the variables or something. We can use it. Okay. Now the next thing that we have to understand while we are working with the loops are these keywords. There are some keywords that we need to have the information about, and the keywords we'll be working with are the continue keyword, then I have my break keyword, and then the pass keyword. These three keywords we'll be learning right now, and we'll be checking how these works and what is the use of it. Okay, so first of all, the continue loop. The continue is a keyword which will keep on iterating. As soon as the interpreter just encounters some continue keyword, it will check that iteration. It will just skip that code which is inside that continue block, and it will go back to the next iteration. Okay, it will skip a particular iteration. If I'll take an example, let's say I have the if condition over here, and I'll say if a is equals to 5, if a is equals to 5, then just continue. Okay, I'll comment rest of the things. I need to do this just. So I'll run it now. Okay, this as well I would like to comment. So you can see it's giving me the values of all the a values that are being checked over here, right? To check the use of continue, I'll add some print statement over here. Let's say continue, example of continue keyword. Okay, this is what I want to be entered when this a is equals to 5 over here. Okay, I have some spelling issue. Keyword. Now I'll run this code. Over here you can see that it has not entered any of the print statements, because in this iteration whatever is written is not going to be executed. It will just continue. Okay, this is actually the keyword where you have a large execution and you want to just put a breakpoint in the loop and check if you have reached at till point or not. So I want to check in between if I am at the 5. So just keep on continuing. Okay. The continue keyword is not that much used, but the break keyword is used. So I'll show you the example of break now. Now instead of this break, if I'll just comment it and I'll say another print statement, print example of break keyword. Okay, there is an unnecessary indent, so I'll remove it. And after this, I'll put a break. Okay, now if I'll run this code, you can see that the iteration that was to be checked till 10 has been blocked at 5th iteration. The reason behind is because I'm checking over here if my iteration has reached till 5 level, that iterations are running over 5 and my value of a become 5. I just want to break the execution. I don't want to execute it anymore. That's why the encounter variable has not been run and the evaluation has not been done. The execution of the code has been terminated after this break keyword. So this break keyword is to break the execution at some point after checking a condition. Okay, this break keyword is going to be in very much use in the further codes and then you will understand it more. Then I have a pass keyword. Now when I talk about the pass keyword, let's just take this example of for loop. In the for loop over here, I have this for and I have specified from which range till which range I have to run. But I have not specified what needs to be done in this iteration. I have not given anything, not any print statement. And now the interpreter will not let me keep this blank, but I need to have this for in my code somewhere so that whenever I want to put some conditions in this for loop, I can simply do that. I do not have to write it again and again. So at that time when I don't have any executable statement and there is no code for any of the loops or if-else condition, then I use the pass keyword. This pass keyword is actually the implementation of stub. When we have such a condition where I am not giving any of the executable statements, I am keeping it blank. At that time, to avoid errors, I use the keyword pass. Okay, this pass keyword is usually used when we are making the functions and I just want to make the structure and then only I want to put some code in the classes or functions. Okay, so these were the 3 keywords, and as in the previous video I told you, every keyword had a meaning defined in the inbuilt library, so they also have and they can work like this. Okay, okay, so let's move further to the next topic that we have in the video today, is to work with the date and time. I'll make a new module by the name date time demo. Okay, now when we work with date time, this date time function has been already made in the Python library. I need to have that code in my recent code. How I can do that? Using another 2 keywords, from and import. Okay, the usage of from import is very easy. This from defines that from which point I want some external file or some external library to be collected from and which is what is to be imported from that file. Okay, these are the 2 things. Now I'll say from, this is my inbuilt function date time. Okay, when I'll press enter, it will give me import automatically. I do not have to write it. After pressing Ctrl plus space, it will provide me the help box that what I want to import. I want to import the time data, time zone, time, maximum year, date, time, date, whatever I want to, I can import. So I'll import the date time. Okay, now when it comes to use this date time class, how I can do that? It's very simple. There are inbuilt functions of it. Let's just make a variable. Let's say current date. Okay. And when I talk about having the internal functions which are already defined, so I'll use them. I'll say date time. You can see this date time. I'll press enter. And now along with this date time, there are internal functions. This is a class maybe. And these are the internal functions that I can use anytime, anywhere. So I'll use the now function. I'll say date time dot now. And after that, I want to check what is the output being coming after here. So I'll say current date. I'll press enter and I'll run it. So over here in the console, you can see it's giving me the proper date along with the time, that what's the time going on and what's the date. Okay, so you can see how useful it is. The same way, if I want to use the current time and extract the date, month, year along single also, I can do that. And how I can do that, let's just take a look at that. Let's say I have a variable year in which I'll define some date. Let's say I have the date as 24 slash 04 slash 20 2020. Okay, this is my date and I want to check the specific elements of the date over here. The year differently, the month differently and the year differently. How I can do that? Using a function, I'll say dt is equals to date time dot strp time. This function actually helps you to make this string usable. Okay, so I'll say I'll pass this date in which the variable in which my date has been stored, and I'll give the format D for month and for year. Okay, and I'll just will print it now. I'll print my variable dt, save it and I'll run it. So now you can see this function is being used for backdated or ahead dated dates, not for the current dates. So you can specify it like this. Now when I have to extract the single elements from the state, how I can do that? Let's just say I want to extract the year. So how I will be able to do that? Year is equals to, use the variable that is having the previously dated date in the format. Okay, so I'll say dt dot year and I'll just simply will print my variable year. I'll save it and I'll run it. So you can see it's giving me 2020 singly. The same way, if you want to extract the month and the day, you can do it. One thing that is over here when I work with the dates, if I want over here, I'm just giving 04, right? I want to have the month name over here. How I can do that? So for that, let's say I have a variable month and I'll use the same variable dt and I'll now use the function the date time dt dot strf time, and using this function I can change the number of the month to the name. So I just need to give the format that is b. Now I will print my month variable, print month. I'll save it and I'll run it. Now you can see it's giving me April. That too in the short form. If I want it to be in the full form, I'll use it again. I'll copy it from here and I'll paste it. Now the format will get changed and I'll use the capital B for my full month name. So you can see it's giving me April now. So you can see how easy it is to use the datetime function. So over here we are right now not having the use of datetime, but when we'll be working ahead in the codes, at that time during the exercises we'll be having the use of this datetime function. So just for the sake of information, this has been done. Now moving further to the next topic, if I'll say, that is that how we can create the classes. Okay, so I'll create a new function for the name like functions demo. Okay, so next I'm moving to the next topic. Let's say it's my global and local variables. Now I need to discuss these two topics, that which are the local variables and how you can use it, along with the scope of them. Now when I talk about local and variables, let me just take you to the workspace over here, and let's suppose this is my one module. Okay, and inside this module I have another function. Okay, we'll see how we can create a function as well in the same example. Okay, now there is some variable which is over here. Let's say I have a variable over here, and there is another variable in the same module, but it is inside the class. So the scope of the b variable which is inside the function would be only this. This b is existing in this part only, and I'll not be able to use it after the scope of this function. But this a is having the scope in the full module. I can use it anywhere just with the use of a keyword global. If I'm using it inside the function that I have made, I just need to use the keyword global. Okay, by the use of that I can simply use it in the function as well. Okay, now let's just see how it actually is implemented. I'll go back to my Eclipse. And over here, let's just first see how we can create a function. Creation of a function is very simple. You need to use the keyword def and the name of your function. Let's say this is a demo function, so I'll make it demo. And you need to end it with the curly brackets, sorry, the circular brackets with a colon at the end. And as soon as you press enter, it will automatically take an indent. Okay, now this is your function. The function has been created. You can make the body of the function as you want. Okay, now I have a situation where I want to work with local and global variables. So let's just take an example. I have a variable a which is outside the scope of this function, means which is in this module, not in my function. And there is another variable b which is having another value, but now I just simply want to use it, so I'll just will use the print statements to just print the value of my variables. Over here I'll print my variable b's value, and after, when I have to come outside this function, I just need to remove the indent. Now I am out of this function, and this is only the scope of my demo function. Okay, this b is existing only here, it will not be available over here now. So I'll say print the global variable which is outside the function, and also if I'll just print the value of b, so it's giving me an error that the b is not defined. That means it's inside this function only. I'll not be able to use it here. Okay, now if I'll save it, I need to call this function. When I'm using some function, I need to call them, then only I'll be able to see the output. And how I can call them? Simply by their name. I just need to write demo and the circular brackets, and that's it. This is how you can call any function that you are making anytime. Okay, now I'll save it and I'll run it. Python run. Okay, now if I'll just, okay, let me just define the output a little to show you. this is my value of A, and here I'll add the statement value of B. Okay, I'll convert it to string to show the output. I'll save it and now I'll run it again. So you can see the difference over the outputs now. Now over from the output you can see how easy it is to call some function, right? The value of my B is being printed over here, right? I've called it after the print statement of A, that's why it's giving me the value over here. If you call it above this, the value will be over here. Now the topic that we are going to cover is the local and global variable. Now if I try to use this A and I try to print the value of the A inside this function, and I'll copy it from here simply and I'll print it over here. Okay, this is a local variable. This is not inside the function. I have not defined the variable A in the function. And now if I'll run it, it's giving me the value, right? Because over here it's visible. But when I have to take an action over here on this variable A, how I can do that? I'll say A is equals to A plus 5 and then print me the value. So it gives me the error that it's not assigned anywhere, but I'm using it. But it is declared in the module over here. But it is outside the scope of this function, that's why I'm not able to take any action over it. So what I need to do is now, if I want to use a global variable, I'll use a keyword global in the function and I'll give the variable name which is global and I want to use it. Now if I'll save it and I'll run it, you can see the value of A I am getting 35. Okay. This is how you can use a global variable inside a local function and you can easily work with it. Just you need to do is you need to define it by using global and the name of the keyword. Okay, so this was about the video and the topics that we could cover in this video. Do practice it. There is many more to come in the next videos. Till the time.